Uh, as Bill said, the plan is being administered by Sun Life. On average, the reimbursement levels are 80 to 85% of the various provincial fee guides. There's significant concerns about the admin load, and you're going to hear this from your dental clients. I just had lunch with the executive director of the Canadian Dental Association, and he is actually on a call this afternoon because just 2 weeks into the plan, they're being swamped with complaints by dentists about what they have to do to get paid just for a recall appointment. There are short to long-term concerns about de-insurance, meaning canceling group insurance in the long term. And I've already heard firsthand about seniors who had individual plans and they're canceling them because now they have a free government plan. And when you look into it, in effect, they're giving up better private coverage because the government's in the game. The contract is quite one-sided. Up until I found out an hour ago, for instance, the government could change any of the terms in the contract without any consultation at all. Apparently, the dental associations were able to change that. So that line in my slide is no longer valid as of an hour ago. One of the problems is local MPs are selling it as I got you free dentistry. And I'll come back to that as part of the hassles that dental offices have to deal with. And the plan is going to be expanded to other age groups in 2025, unless we have perhaps a fall election and a new government decides to freeze it. But right now, it is going to be expanded. So let's look at an effect. $317 is the fee guide for a two-surface molar composite, I believe in BC. If you have coverage up to the $70,000 a year range, $44 of that is going to be reimbursed. It's going to be paid by the patient, $273 by the government, and it just goes down. Obviously, as you get down to 60% and 40%, the patient has to pick up more. But what I want you to look at is not what's called the copay, which I'm pointing to, it's the balance bill. And this is going to be key for keeping your clients, your customers whole. If there's any message to be delivered in this, please balance bill. And I'll show you why in a moment. And by the way, there's a wide range. A half unit of polishing is normally $46, but only $11 is covered by the government, while units of scaling are covered almost to 96%. So there's a huge range. The 84% or 85% is a balanced average, meaning we've taken into account the frequency with which various procedures are delivered. And when you do that, it averages out to approximately 84 or 85% for most provincial fee guides. So here's the type of decision tree that dentists are going to be faced with, or not going to be, excuse me, are faced with right now. And by the way, as of lunch today, approximately 30% of the dentists in Canada are enrolled. And that's a biggie. They have to enroll. Starting July 1st, they can start to build the system without having to formally enroll, but they will still be bound by the same contracts and the same rules. So let's look at this decision. If you're not going to accept, the effect on your practice revenue, your practice earnings, and your practice value is going to be essentially neutral, perhaps downside if you start to lose patients because you're not accepting. If you accept the CDCP and you balance bill, and you've already got a full schedule, again, it's going to be neutral with some downside. And the reason we say downside is, and I'll quote a dentist that I spoke to recently. He said, I don't care if I lose these patients. I've got a 6-week wait to do a crown. That's going to open up time to me. And I may actually have some upside if I've a full schedule excess capacity. If you don't balance bill, that's where the bad stuff happens. With no excess capacity, you are basically starting to impact your revenue by an average of 15% for every patient that you see. If you've got excess capacity, it's going to be somewhere between downside and upside. And the reason for that is obviously the upside is you'll be filling empty chair time, you'll increase your revenue, but you won't be increasing it to the same extent that you should be. So let's look at some numbers. In this sample of $1 million revenue practice, if they were to take a hit of 15%, imaginary, all their patients are now CDCP, they're going to take a hit of about $610,000 in value, and they're going to take a hit of 15%, $150,000 in revenue. Okay, that's an extreme exaggeration, but the reason it's there is it's easy math. If 10% of your practice now becomes CDCP without balance billing, your value is going to drop by $60,000. 20%, $120,000. I had a meeting on Sunday, a couple of days ago, with a client to go over their valuation. And one of the things I'd noticed was he has 30% of his demographic, his patient demographic, over the age of 60. So I said to him, Michel, what are you going to be doing about CDCP? And he gave me a totally blank look. He hadn't a clue. Why is that going to affect me? I thought I'd just wait. Which brings us to our next topic. What are the issues, the opportunities, and considerations? And here's where we can begin to have a conversation with dentists like I had last Sunday. There is an opportunity in Ontario and perhaps other provinces, I don't know, where you will be able to jointly bill with the very low provincial programs. You may not be aware of it, but most provincial programs pay somewhere between 40% and 80% of fee guide. You will now be able to bill bill the government for eligible patients and collect what you can from the federal government and balance bill the provincial programs. So that's actually a revenue opportunity. And this is something that needs to be educated and spoken to both to patients and to dentists. There's going to be an increased demand for dental services. One of the problems that the government is already experiencing is patients who are enrolled and complaining they can't find a dentist in their area. Right now, approximately 30% are enrolled across the country, and obviously with great variance from region to region. But within the dental office, this will exacerbate staffing challenges and complaints to the front desk and time for the front desk to explain, et cetera, et cetera. As one of the participants in our webinar last week said to us, I'm going to lose my front desk if I do this. I know her. Now, Bill happens to know this person, and she is not, let's say, a person with great people management skills. but that's going to have to become much more important for our clients and customers. And next step, get them to consider technology and people and processes to improve productivity, because that's where our real opportunity is. There's going to have to be more focus on cost control and such things as using in-office lab, Henry Schein brands, etc. Opportunities to increase the patient base. I think personally that the bottom line here is, with one of the biggest changes in Canadian dentistry in the last 40 years, and by the way, I was involved in the last one. Yeah, I'm old. As this rolls out, it's going to be a top of mind issue for practicing dentists. And that gives our FSCs who understand this program a great opportunity to add meaningful value-added discussions with their customers, because our customers are going to need greater efficiencies in their practices, and that's something that Henry Schein is really good at. I've tried to keep it brief so that there would be time for discussion or questions. So